In the mid-1800s, there was a growing conflict between the Apache tribes and the American settlers that were moving deeper into the southwest region. These tensions would eventually boil over and result in a 75-year period of raids, battles, and abductions called the Apache Wars. Yet, the relationships between the Apaches and the incoming settlers wasn't always hostile. In today's episode, we'll take a look back at what is widely considered the sole spark of the Apache Wars, the Bascom Affair. A story of lies, incompetence, and bloodshed. I'm Jake Storybelly, and this is Laughs from the Past.
Welcome back to Laughs from the Past. What's going on, everybody? It's Season 8, Episode 11. We just keep rolling on through with the Wild West because there are so many stories. We could do this forever. I do think we have an end date. I don't know if there's how many more episodes we have left of the Wild West, but a couple. This story, as you heard on the introduction and read from the title, is the Bascom Affair. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I've never heard of this one. I know of the Apache Wars, but never heard of this one. So I'm excited whenever there's a story that I've never even sniffed. Excited to learn what it's all about. But Jake, I think you said you're an expert? Bascom Affair story expert?
I'm pretty well versed in this. No, obviously not, because I'm not well versed in anything. But Apache is like one of the most well-known Indian tribes. I feel that people know.
What's up there?
Due to it either kind of being a fun word to say, or I think its involvement in culture has it as a big one. I will say this: I feel like when you had a history book in high school. And, every paragraph would have two key words highlighted. I feel like Bascom was highlighted in a textbook, and I remember that.
Wow, that's great.
So expert, yeah.
Yeah, basically wrote a dissertation on it.
I know nothing.
You knew of the Apache? I would say like Cherokee or Navajo or...
Cherokee, Navajo, Apache.
Sioux.
Sioux's a big one. Aren't they like Midwest?
Yeah, Plains Indians.
I wonder if we can, because I feel like that's a high school quiz, right? It's like kind of labeled the main Indian tribes.
Yeah.
Seminole. And like Sioux, I picture as being Middle America. Apache, I picture out west.
Something I've never done that I'm doing right now is looking at the Native American tribe map.
Right. That's what we're talking about, I think.
We are exactly what you're talking about. I'm just saying I've never actually Googled one, which I love maps. I love history. You would think this is a path that I've traveled down before, but I haven't is what I'm saying, which I find interesting. Pawnee, right in the middle of America. Look at this map I got right here, just real quick. Seminole.
Here we go.
So isn't this badass?
Yeah.
The Sioux are up there, Plains, Pawnee, Middle America. You have the Miami tribe, which is actually by Ohio, and which we know because the college, Miami of Ohio.
Yeah.
Cherokee, Seminole in Florida. So Apache is the Southwest with the Navajo and the Pueblo. And I know Pueblo because of the architecture in that area is named after it, basically.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is cool.
It's pretty cool that the Native Americans just gave us all that land.
Yeah, it was nice of them,
Oh, wait, this country's built on lies. Dad's running hot.
All right, well, let's get right into the story then.
Let's do it.
The Seeds of War. And this, we are getting a lot of this information from an article written by J.W. Sharp from Desert USA, desertusa.com. J.W. Sharp. So thank you to Jay. On January 27th, 1861, Coyotero. Oh, Coyotero. Is that how you pronounce that, you think?
Works for me.
Coyotero Apaches raided John Ward's Squalid Ranch headquarters. Squalid? I don't know what that is either. So we're off to a hot start not knowing words in the sentences I'm reading. Squalid?
I think I know squalor, right?
Squalor is like shitty, and solid is like, that's solid. So like if you were to tell me is living in, solid house, that sounds good. Squalor house, that sounds bad.
Yeah, squalor.
So squalor, cool. Living in squalor. Jake lived in squalor for a long time. Ranch headquarters on Sonoyta Creek, some 11 miles southwest of Fort Buchanan in southeastern Arizona's broken and arid basin and range country. They ran off 20 head of Ward's cattle and abducted his Mexican mistress, 12-year-old red-haired and one-eyed son, Mickey Free.
Holy shit.
What, do you think this is bad?
I mean, dude, just every part of that sentence leads to another, like, crazy line.
So, Coyotero Apaches raided... So the Indians are raiding John Ward's ranch.
Yes.
They ran off 20 head of Ward's cattle. So they stole 20 cattle, or they just ran them off into, they didn't really take them with them, I'm guessing. Right. They just ran them away. Abducted his Mexican mistress and a 12-year-old red-headed and one-eyed Mickey Free. Now, how come we didn't get a description of the Mexican mistress, but Mickey Free gets done dirty? Maybe he doesn't want everyone to know he's got one eye.
The red hair's kind of messed up when I think about it. Because one eye, yeah, that's notable. I mean, red hair, we're really going to highlight that. Those are the two things.
Yeah, it's crazy.
One eye, even worse, he got red hair. Like, come on.
Ward, a drunk, according to some, and in all respects, a worthless character. Jesus. Jesus. Some people consider him a drunk, but everyone considers him worthless. Okay. Tough break for Ward. Tough break for Ward and his one-eyed son. Sucks. According to T.E. Farish, in his History of Arizona, reported the raid to the Fort Buchanan commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Pitcairn Morrison. Ward, some said, seemed more worried about the loss of his livestock than the whereabouts of Mickey Free. Ward blamed the raid not on the Coyotero Apaches, but on the Chiricahua Apaches, specifically, God damn it,
Let me jump in here. I'd like to apologize to all of our listeners for a lot of the pronunciations you'll hear. I think whether you're Native American or if you're a human, you could be offended by a lot of these pronunciations. So I want to get ahead of that and apologize. Because we're in deep.
Okay, this one is, I'm just Googling the pronunciation. Chiricahua Apaches.
Chiricahua. Coyotero.
Right? Like, what is all this shit? What about... There's so many...
I don't have that one.
The one I just highlighted?
Cochise? Cochise?
Cochise?
Cochise's band of Chiconans.
Cochise County. Cochise. Okay. Chiricahua, is that what it was? Chiricahua. So there's two different bands of Apaches, the Coyotero and Coyotero and the Chiricahua. And he's saying it wasn't the Coyotero, it was the Chiricahua. Specifically Cochise's Chokinets.
Oh, man.
Dude, this is a brutal Brutal sentence if you don't know how to pronounce these words. I feel bad. All right, anyway. The next morning, Morrison, a seasoned officer who may have been more concerned about the nation's emerging civil war in the East than the ward's losses in Arizona, dispatched an inexperienced 24-year-old second lieutenant, George N. Bascom, with a detachment of troopers on a reconnaissance of Ward's ranch. Bascom, who had graduated next to the bottom of U.S. Military Academy's class of 1858, had arrived in Arizona only some 3 months earlier. He knew little of anything about Apaches, which was a dangerous thing, especially when dealing with the Chiricahuas. What was it? If this word's gonna Chiricahua. So he didn't know anything about the Apaches, especially when dealing with Chiricahuas. Charles D. Poston, the father of Arizona, said
I'll cut you off and catch your breath a little bit there, but Charles D. Poston, the father of Arizona, that's a drop in the dick on the table a little bit.
It is. Is that real? Charles D. His middle name is DeBrill. The father of Arizona.
Poston.
Yeah, he is referred to as the father of Arizona due to his efforts lobbying for creation of the territory.
I mean, that's not a lot of people can claim to be the father of a state.
He's got a real badass look about him too. Like, hold on, look at this picture.
Get him on there.
Look at that hair.
Yeah, that look would play perfectly today.
I think he's like, killing it today. Like
that look is almost cooler today than it was then.
I mean, that guy gets a lot of likes on Instagram. Look at that hair, man.
Like, if you ignore his outfit, damn, like that's a guy that, I mean, he's giving you almost hipster vibes, but he's also not. Like, I'm all for this guy.
Yeah. Let's see if there's other pictures of him.
That's how you become the father of Arizona.
Right? You got to be good looking if you want to become
15 minutes in, and what have we done?
Not much, man. Learned how to pronounce some words and found out that this guy was attractive. All right, let's get back to the story. So, all right, to sum it up, what we know, dude, is that there's this guy that everyone hates named Ward, and the Caertos ran off with his cattle and stole his mistress and his 12-year-old son. He's blaming the wrong band of Apaches. The military's like, we don't give a fuck, dude. We're going to civil war. And they just send this dude Bascom, who graduated at the bottom of his class and knows nothing of the people and the land, to fix the situation.
Bingo. We're there.
So Charles D. Poston, the father of Arizona, said that Bascom, who wore a beard to mask his youth, was a fine-looking fellow, a Kentuckian, a West Pointer, and, of course, a gentleman, but he was unfortunately a fool. We have Baskin on the screen down there.
Okay.
And sure, yeah, he's a good-looking guy, I guess, but he's a fool. That sucks. So this is like idiot versus idiot, they're telling us.
We currently have a collection of not the cream of the crop.
Yeah. On the evening of January 28th, the young Bascom and his detachment returned to Fort Buchanan. He reported to his commanding officer that the tracks of the raiders' ponies led eastward from Ward's ranch toward the Chiricahua Mountains. He assumed the home range of Cochise and his band. Bascom's evidence seemed to point to the Chiconans. Ward, the officers concluded, must have been right in his accusation. Dude, are you telling me they sent a dude from the East Coast all the way out to Arizona to solve this, and he said, let me check to see if there's any footprints?
Yeah.
I mean, dude traveled like a week on a train to just let them know about footprints?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a gentleman who he was labeled in all respects a worthless character, and then the guy from the bottom of his class basically accidentally confirms that guy's vote / maybe that he was probably definitely told that guy said it was them. So he probably didn't even see tracks. He probably just went out there and he's like, oh, yeah, the Chaconans.
Or Ward just put the tracks in there himself. He's got enough time.
I don't think he even bothered, man. I think it's lazier than that.
It's crazy. All right. Well, strike a blow is the next part of the story. According to Ed Sweeney in his book, Cochise Chiricahua Apache Chief, Morrison decided to fulfill the Army's resolve to pursue and, if possible, chastise such marauding parties. He would strike a blow. So, this guy means business. Mm-hmm. The next morning, on January 29th, Morrison dispatched Bascom eastward toward Apache Pass. That's cool, Apache Pass. Yeah. The ancient trail between the Chiricahua and Dos Cabezas mountain ranges and the heart of Cochise's territory. He gave Bascom a force of 54 newly arrived mounted troopers plus an interpreter named Antonio. An inexperienced officer would lead inexperienced men. Morrison ordered Bascom to pursue the Indians and recover a boy, demand the immediate restoration of stolen property, and if necessary, use the force under his orders. John Ward rode with Bascom's party. I can't believe the government cares. They clearly don't care. They sent the bottom of the barrel and stuff, but there was no local. I guess there was no local police or anything because it wasn't really a state or anything. So the U.S. government had to act.
Yeah, and I think and maybe I've just got too much of what's going on in our heads right now going, but it seems like they were using Ward in his story as almost like an excuse. We were looking to deal with those Indians anyway, so if you've got a story for us, let's run with it.
A launching off point, basically. Yeah. To start this, what they wanted to do already.
And by the way, a shout out to the writer that you mentioned with this article. He said it at the start, J.W. Sharp. I like that, sometimes we're not exactly sure what's going to happen or the buildup. I like that he's just fully filling the pot with idiots and he's labeling as they come. Just, here's some shit to go in the boil.
Yeah, we got Ward and Bascom leading a party of 54 new
inexperienced officers. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Cochise, for the moment unaware of either the raid at Ward's ranch or of the approach of Bascom's forces, had taken winter camp with his Chinook band in the pine and oak country at the north end of Chiricahua Mountains, close to Apache Pass. The camp, or rancheria, as Apache camps were called, lay near one of the way stations for John Butterfield's Overland Mail stagecoach service and near Apache Springs, the only year-round water source in the region. Okay. These sentences are long, man. They're really exhausting.
Yeah, and I have one. It's not a pronunciation problem with you, but it's a delivery, because if anyone knows John Butterfield's Overland Mail stagecoach service, it's said like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
My bad. And every time I say Cochise, I'm like, that can't be right. Chinook. I just feel dirty every time I try to pronounce these names. I feel bad.
Chinook's getting me. I don't know. I feel like it's almost offensive, but I think of choking the chicken when I read that, which is pathetic.
I'm listening to the pronunciation. Oh, when you search Chinook pronunciation, it says it looks like there aren't any great matches. I've never come up empty on Google.
Perfect.
What? Chinook just doesn't come up? This is a fake word. How could it be how could you not be able to Google it? Google changes it to Cochise's Hoboken instead of Chinook.
Let me give this a rip.
Well, how are you spelling that?
What'd you call
What?
me?
Chinook? Chinook? I don't know.
I'll let Daddy ride for a little bit. Okay, catch your breath. Cochise's Chinookan band had been forged as a people by the Chiricahua Mountains, a home range which the pioneering anthropologist and historian Adolph Bandelier described as a formidable chain and terribly rugged, abrupt ledges, cut up and twisted, pinnacles, crags, and precipices. Fuck this.
I'm telling you, dude, the way this dude, every sentence is exhausting.
That sentence was 3 sentences.
That's how this whole thing's been. All right, let's keep going. The products of a hard life in a hard land, Cochise and his Chinookans gave new dimensions to the terms warrior, raider, ambush, vigilance, endurance, naturalist, and tracker.
Dude, give us like 2 words and we'll get it. Like, you don't need every synonym for every fucking label.
Those are 2 crazy back-to-back sentences. Okay, they represented the core, the flint heart of the Chickawawas.
Chiricahuas, whom the journalist Charles Loomis called the deadliest fighting handful in the calendar of man during his coverage of the Apache Wars. Okay, so is this whole paragraph telling us that the Chiricahuas are good fighters?
Yes, because they grew up in a rough and tumble environment, which made them hardened men, and they know the land nurtured them into badass fighters. That's what that was saying.
I just would have gone about it differently.
Cochise, probably about 50 years old in that winter of 1861, towered over other Chiricahua leaders. Born into leadership and imbued. Is that a word? Imbued? Come on, what is that word?
Imbued? I have no idea.
IMBUED. Inspire or permeate with feeling or quality. Imbue. Born into leadership and imbued with charisma, Cochise became chief of the Chinookans by election when he was a very young man, said Asa Daglugi, son of Ja, another Chiricahua chief. That meant that his ability as a fighting man was well established and that he was respected by his people. But a chief's election was just the first step toward ruling his people. If challenged for his position, he must fight for it. Moreover, the chief was responsible for not only their safety, but for supplies of food, clothing, and weapons, and for transportation. All of these things Cochise provided. So he was a leader?
So yeah, he was a strong leader.
You want to take the next paragraph?
Yeah, absolutely.
Popcorn Jake.
I think an early take on this. It's not too early. I think some of our diehards are going to love this episode. If you're just here for a history fix, this might be tough.
If this is the first episode, sorry.
In his chronicle about an 1872 peace conference with Cochise, Captain J.A. Sladen said that the chief was a remarkably fine-looking man, fully 6 feet tall, as straight as an arrow and well-proportioned. The typical Indian face, rather long, high cheekbones, clear, keen eye, and a Roman nose. His cheeks were slightly painted with vermilion. A yellow silk handkerchief bound his hair, which was straight and black, with just a touch of silver. He carried himself at all times with great dignity and was always treated by those about him with the utmost respect and at times fear.
Okay, great job, Jake. Good job. Popcorn me.
Why?
So, okay.
A Roman nose? Fuck, man. The fuck.
Dude, he had a Roman nose. Get over it.
Moreover, he had a profound sense of honor. Cochise was very proud of making his word good. Apaches hated liars. Popcorn Jimmy.
Cochise's scouts almost certainly watched Bascomb's column of troopers, all mounted on mules, as they approached Apache Pass. Cochise would, without a doubt, have been alerted, but he felt little concern. Army detachments routinely crossed the pass, often an escort of wagon traffic, stopping for water at Apache Springs. Cochise certainly had no reason to anticipate a showdown or any attempt of the blue uniformed soldiers to strike a blow. He and his band raided not in the United States, but primarily in Mexico, where he hated the people who had put bounties on the scalps of his men, women, and children. So the scene is set. The Apache gang is chilling by the spring. The 54 soldiers under Ward and Bascom are just walking on the pass, and the Apaches are like, there they go. They're walking along. They're not going to harm us. We don't even fuck with these dudes. They don't know that they've been misidentified as the Apache who raided Ward. Scene is set.
The all-time shouldn't have a place in history, John Ward.
Bascom, a sheep in wolf's clothing, versus Cochise, a wolf in wolf's clothing. That's the showdown. All right, here we go. On Sunday, February 3rd, 1861, Bascom led his force into Apache Pass, where he encountered a detachment of 13 troopers who were returning west after wagon train escort duty. Bascom received a briefing from Sergeant Daniel Robinson, commander of the escort, about the location of Cochise's ranchero. Bascom joined Robinson's troops to his own, bringing the total number to 67, plus the interpreter, Antonio, and the rancher, John Ward. Why don't you just count them? 69 guys, and they picked up 13 troopers. I mean, that's crazy. 13 troopers are just returning west, and they're like, hey, you guys want to help us raid these Indians?
That's kind of fun, simpler times before we dive into the story. Like, yeah, we just finished an escort duty. What are you boys up to? Okay, you got food and snacks and stuff? Sure, we'll roll with you.
Yeah. Bascom's reinforced column crossed the mile-high west summit of Apache Pass and followed the trail eastward to Butterfield Stagecoach Way Station, where he met Charles W. Culver, the station keeper, and James F. Wallace, a stagecoach driver. Bascom learned that they both knew Cochise. While his men and their animals watered at Apache Springs, Bascom told Culver that he was en route to Rio Grande, deliberately misleading information which he hoped would reach Cochise and eliminate any possible suspicions. Meanwhile, he sent word to Cochise's rancheria calling for a parley. Bascom then moved his force about a mile beyond the stage station, pitching tents and making camp on the right bank of the trail. He waited for Cochise. So it's the old fake out, you know? Oh, you know Cochise? Yeah, well, we're not going that way. We're going to the Rio Grande.
Yeah.
Okay. Early the next afternoon, he still waited. Impatient, he rode back to the stage station. He persuaded a reluctant James Wallace to go to Cochise's rancheria to reiterate the call for a parley. In the early evening, the chief finally appeared with a small party at Bascom's camp. John Ward said, "There comes Cochise," hoping the prospect for recovering his cattle and the boy, Mickey Free, came too. The chief apparently felt no anxiety about the meeting. He only brought 3 warriors, all close relatives. He brought his wife. He even brought 2 of their children. He believed that the Bascom column was simply crossing on routine patrol through Apache Pass to the east. He may have been told by Wallace or Station Master Culver that the soldiers were headed for the Rio Grande. He had no idea that he would be called to account for the raid at John Ward's ranch. He regarded the parley as a social gathering. Okay. Classic case, Jake.
Yeah, I mean we've built kind of an idiot's trap by Bascom. Tell him to come here. Not expecting anything, which I mean, couple moving parts here, because okay, let's say Cochise did this. Do we think he's gonna play it so cool that he's not gonna bring any people with him? Like he brought family. I think you got to be thinking about those kind of things. But either way, they've got him outnumbered. You've got kids there, and we're all in the tent.
I mean, it's pretty clear, like, if Ward and Bascom were painted as smart men, they would, this guy is very lax. Maybe he truly wasn't part of this. But we got 2 dum-dums on our hand, is what we've been told.
Yeah, and I guess that's why we've been set up for that. And I think we're getting to a part of the story that we can read and function.
Okay, that's cool. Greetings done. The raw, young Bascom invited the distinguished but unsuspecting Cochise and his warriors to step inside a tent. Now begins a story which has been told and retold and embroidered around Apache campfires and in Euro-American ink for generations, with the consequent blurring of the truth. Apparently, what happened, however, is that with a signal from John Ward, Bascom's soldiers quietly surrounded the tent. Inside, Bascom, through his interpreter, Antonio, began to interrogate Cochise about the raid. Cochise soon realized that Bascom had come, not on a routine patrol to the east or the Rio Grande, but specifically to demand the return of Ward's cattle and the boy, Mickey Free. Cochise had been deceived. Bascom had lied about his purpose and destination. Apaches hated liars. Bascom, convinced by Ward and by the initial investigation of Cochise's guilt, apparently accused the Chinook band of the raid. Offended, Cochise rejected the accusation. The persistent young Bascom accused Cochise of lying. Cochise was very proud of making his word good, because the Apaches hated liars. Undoubtedly offended by this green second lieutenant, Cochise nevertheless offered to go to the Coyotero Apaches, 80 to 100 miles away, and try to persuade them to return Mickey Free. Bascom, in his ignorance of the Apaches and their separate and independent bands, apparently thought that Cochise had the authority to simply order another band to return the boy. Bascom, aware that his soldiers surrounded the tent, declared that he would hold Cochise, his warrior relatives, and his wife and children hostage until the chief returned John Ward's cattle and Mickey Free. All right, so we got a little standoff here.
Yeah, so and we're now realizing the appreciation of the buildup, because the kind of shit stew that started has now, our Cochise got lied to, which,
And dude, they hate liars. The Apache
multiplied the situation instantly.
Yep. The Cherokee welcomed liars.
And then, doubling down, now accusing Cochise of lying, I mean, you've woken up the beast.
You're calling me a liar?
You just lied to me, and now you're calling me a liar.
I am Apache.
Yeah.
We hate liars. Quick as a startled antelope, Cochise snatched a knife from its case, sliced through the canvas tent wall, and burst through the opening, with his warrior and relative Cayon Toro immediately behind. Bascom screamed, "Shoot them down!" I thought I had it for a moment. Let's edit it. Ready? Bascom screamed, "Shoot him down!" Cochise raced past the inexperienced and startled soldiers and toward the mountains. Coyantero stumbled and fell, and the soldiers found presence of mind enough to capture him. John Ward, seeing his opportunity to recover his losses disappearing into the gathering darkness, fired his weapon at Cochise. Bam, boom, clang, click. Soldiers, recovering their wits, fired dozens of wild shots in the general direction of the fleeing form. Only a single ball found its mark, inflicting a minor wound in Cochise's leg. While Cochise escaped, Bascom still held the family members, now prisoners.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, and hey, we're talking about how the lies made Cochise so mad. Is why didn't he? Because it sounds like the deal they agreed upon, but he's so mad about the lying. Was like, all right, you go leave and bring us the kid back, and then we're good. Like, if that's the deal they're offering, why don't you go back, get a bunch of warriors, mess up these dudes' day, get your family back, and then you're good. Because now you just left, you've pissed everyone off, and they have your family.
They didn't offer that deal. He said, "I'll go to them and ask to return." But Bascom said, "No, you have to order them to return the boy now," because he thought they had the power.
Yeah, but Jake's saying that,
right.
You can say, "Oh, okay, sure. Keep my soldiers and my wife here. I will go get them for you." And then he goes back to his full, tribe of Chinokins and then fuck up these dumb soldiers and then save his family. And then,
He was so mad about the lying, though. He was so hot.
Yeah. And he's not going to lie, so he can't do that plan. Jake, he can't do that plan.
True. He can't lie.
If he does that plan, he's then a liar.
You gotta. That's when you gotta find like the Chinokin way of lying and being like, I will go get the men or something like that.
Yeah. It's all semantics. This affair became known to the Apaches as "cut through the tent," said the old warrior Jason Betsinez in his autobiography. It aroused much indignation and interest even on the part of the Apaches of bands distant to the Chiricahua country.
And that's kind of what we alluded to before, that, why were they so into this from the start? And I mean, it already seemed like we're having, white people and Native American relations. That's probably also why you have the Apaches so into this.
Yeah. They were eager to fight. All right, the dogs of war. In ways which lay beyond Bascom's comprehension, the dogs of war were about to slip their leashes. Man, talk about a nothing sentence.
Right?
I think the guy who wrote this is a lawyer, because no non-lawyer uses this many commas. Every sentence comes with like 3 commas.
I had a big comma kick for a while, but yeah, I got over that.
I love a good comma, don't get me wrong, but this is, everything has another breath within it.
I was comma centric. I'd say junior year of high school, every sentence had a comma.
Just crushing them?
Yeah.
All right. Within an hour after his escape, Cochise appeared at the crest of a hill, asking about his warrior and relative Cayontera. Apparently, in a show of anger, Bascom responded with a volley of fire. Jesus, Bascom. Cochise disappeared. Bascom, sensing an impending siege, moved his force back to the stagecoach station where he could capitalize on the protection of stone walls. Smart. Apache campfires burned on nearby peaks through the night. The next morning, Bascom and Cochise met on neutral ground to negotiate. The stubborn Bascom demanded the return of Mickey Free. Cochise demanded the release of his family. Gunfire ended the parley. Shooting from both sides would continue intermittently throughout the day. The Apaches captured the stagecoach driver Wallace. Darkness fell. Apache campfires again burned through the night, this time to the accompaniment of the drums of war. They had drums? You only had 54 soldiers. You got drummers?
No, the Apaches were drumming, Jim.
Oh, cool. Bascom sent for reinforcements from Fort Buchanan. All right. Cool. The next sucks for Wallace, the stagecoach driver. He got scooped up.
I was wondering why we got Wallace mentioned before. Now I'm glad.
Yeah. The next morning, Cochise made one more effort to keep the peace. He brought Wallace, arms bound, to the crest of a hill. Cochise asked for his family back in exchange for the stagecoach driver. The hard-headed Bascom, defying advice from his own troopers to make the trade, rejected the offer and again demanded the return of Mickey Free. After all, he had his orders from Lieutenant Colonel Morrison. Very frustrating part of the movie, if this is a movie where you're like, dude, he doesn't have Mickey Free or the authority to give him to you. Get it through your thick, dumb head, Bascom.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
We are all done with this.
Yeah, even Bascom's men were like, yo, let's just,
dude,
we're good.
We came here to get a kid and maybe a couple animals, and now you're taking us to war, basically.
Mm-hmm. The next morning, Cochise made one more effort to keep the peace. I already read that sentence.
Lieutenant Colonel Morrison.
Yeah. Lieutenant Colonel Morrison gave the orders and said, pursue the Indians and recover a boy. Demand the immediate restoration of stolen property and use the force under his orders. Cool. So he meant to carry out those orders, even if Mickey Free was 100 miles away in the hands of another Apache band.
Okay, so
Why?
I have a note that I think our writer of this, who mentioned every detail, left out one detail. You know, being new and being at the bottom of his class, which are a couple things I can speak on, you know, you can still have a little bit of a drive to want to succeed. And I think our guy here, he's like, hey, this is my first job. I was given an order. I have to do this. And so that's why he's still pushing for the kid in any way he can, even though it's the wrong way.
It could just, okay, you don't have them? Cool. Let's go to the other guys. They're 80 miles away.
Yeah, but, you know, he thinks he's tricking them. This guy told him they're there. He somewhat believes that for whatever reason. He's looking for a red-headed, one-eyed kid.
The next day, February 6th, Cochise upped the ante. He captured a wagon train, which happened to be on the trail through the pass a couple of miles to the west of the stagecoach station. He stole the draft animals and burned the wagons. He tortured, then killed 9 hated Mexicans. Oh my God. How do you know that these random-ass Mexicans that were on the wagon were so hated?
Cochise hated Mexicans, apparently.
Oh, yeah. So it's not these specific 9.
Yeah.
He just hated all Mexicans. Okay. He captured 3 Americans whom he meant to add to the offer he would exchange for his family. He sent Bascom a note written by Wallace with the new terms. Meanwhile, he sent his band's women and children south deep into the Chiricahua Mountains, out of harm's way. He received reinforcements, including the warrior Geronimo, from the other Chiricahua bands. The next evening, on February 7th, having gotten no response from Bascom to the offers for exchange, Cochise tried but failed to capture a stagecoach and take still more captives. He had meant to up the ante again. He would have used the captives he had as collateral for negotiations. Deep into the night, while snow fell, the Apaches danced around their campfires and prepared for battle. All right, I need a popcorn to you, but also, I get what Cochise is doing. It's not a bad plan.
Yeah, we're gonna give. Hey, let's make a deal. If my deal is not good enough for you, I really want to get this deal done. I'll add some stuff to the package, in kind of a don't mess with me fashion. I think what's interesting, and again, I think our author does have a unique writing style. We keep just getting these hints of the Apaches. We see Apache fires. There's more Apache fires, but we're talking to the Chickahawa tribe, and we've moved the women and children, and they're going to join us. But I mean, basically, it sounds like we haven't met the Apaches yet. They're just watching this from afar.
What the other, like with all the bands, they haven't been there at all. They've just been sleeping with fires at night.
Right.
But they're gearing up for war.
Geronimo getting a name drop is pretty cool. Imagine.
Yeah, I mean, Geronimo's awesome.
Geronimo's here, dude.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big flex. Let's see what happens.
Right.
I want to see how these Apache get involved.
I'm tapping you in. My mouth hurts.
The next day, February 8th, Cochise struck, first at Apache Springs, where several soldiers had been detailed to water the mounts. He drove off all of Bascom's animals. It's funny. Both sides inflicted several casualties. Not as funny. Cochise threatened the stagecoach station, but he could see that Bascom's guns would inevitably kill many warriors. He learned that fresh troopers would soon reinforce Bascom. Seeing no hope for more negotiations and giving up on recovering his family. Jeez. Oh, Cochise withdrew. A lot of twists and turns. So, if you heard my emotions in that sentence, I said, seeing no hope for more negotiations and giving up recovering his family, that made me really sad and made me think Cochise was about to go ham. No, Cochise withdrew. Okay. The next sentence is, he tortured and killed his 4 American captives, leaving their mutilated bodies to taunt Bascom and the Americans. He then dispersed his forces, though not his fury. There would be another day. Any thoughts?
I mean, it's a wild paragraph that you just read, because why does he withdraw but then also torture and kill the captives?
I guess it's just hey, I'm at grips with my family dying. Let's go back, and maybe now he's going to tap in the Apaches or something. I don't know.
I think it's kind of like, hey, you may have won today, but this is what I'm capable of. This is what you caused, and there's more coming.
This will be you soon.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
Bascom hunkered down, not even sending out scouts, while he awaited reinforcements. The new forces began arriving on St. Valentine's Day, with one detachment bringing 3 Apache warriors, probably coyoteros, captured on the route. Bascom now held 6 warriors, including Cochise's relatives, and he still held Cochise's wife and children. On February 16th and 17th, troops were sent out to search for us, said Geronimo. But as we had disbanded, it was, of course, impossible for them to locate any hostile camp. While they searched, we watched them from our hiding places and laughed at their failures.
Knowing the terrain and good hiding.
Geronimo peacocking a little bit.
A little bit.
Also, Geronimo uses just as many commas as the writer of this article. Suspect.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's our author of this article trying to make it look like everybody writes like that.
Let me punch up Geronimo's grammar real quick. On February 18th, 1989, I was born. On February 18th, whatever year this story takes place in, troops saw circling turkey vultures, which led them to the bodies of Cochise's 4 captives, riddled with lance holes. According to an officer named Irwin, in anguish and fury, the soldiers buried their fellow Americans under 4 oak trees. What did I say wrong, Luke?
According to Officer Irwin was the first sentence, not the second.
According to an officer named Irwin. Oh, I get it. Whatever. He was around. I got a flying here. It's pissing me off. Realizing that Cochise had given up the fight and dispersed into the mountains, Bascom assigned a small detachment to guard the stagecoach station, and he and the other forces left, heading west toward their home forts. He realized Cochise's wife...
Released.
He released Cochise's wife and children, but at the urging of enraged soldiers and civilians, he hung the 6 captive warriors from the limbs of the 4 oak trees whose roots embraced the murdered Americans, grisly reminders of the conflict with Cochise at Apache Pass. The bodies swung on their ropes for months, decaying, unrecovered by their Apache brethren who lived in terror of the dead.
So, if I'm reading this correctly, Cochise's...
What did I just read? Tell me what I just read.
Cochise's wife and kids were released.
That's awesome.
Which is a shock. But, as a counter to that, I think there was 3 Apaches that were kidnapped a couple paragraphs ago. And then there was also 3 warriors that were captured from the original meeting.
Caerto and then the other 3. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they hung 6 Native Americans above the 4 bodies of the Americans that Cochise had killed. So tensions are high.
Yes. Okay. This affair changed a prominent, highly thought of chief and his band from Indians who had been friendly and cooperative with the government to a bitterly hostile group, said Betsinez. The dogs of war were now on the loose and at the worst possible time. The military forces would soon be withdrawn from Arizona and redeployed to fight in the Great War between the states. The civilian population would be left at the mercy of Cochise and the Apaches.
So,
cool.
I mean, we'll see what happens, but that does... this story's not going to be fun whenever it happens, but if this had gotten resolved quickly, in theory the war happens and then, maybe we have some more peaceful times out there. I mean, I don't think it changes the way white people handled Native Americans overall. It probably just delays things, but this kicked it into gear.
Yeah. I mean, Cochise was doing everything right, man. Kinda.
He tried.
He did slaughter those people, which maybe
took a turn.
Okay, a decade of agony. Cochise, incomparable as a leader and as a strategist, struck back swiftly. Why do you need that? Why can't you just say Cochise struck back swiftly?
It's incomparable.
Setting the stage for a decade of conflict. From his impregnable strongholds, he dispatched far and wide small bands of his picked warriors to plunder wagons, stampede cattle and horses, and murder unprotected soldiers. In conquest of Apacheria, Dan L. Thrapp said that within 60 days, 150 whites were killed. This was the beginning of the first drama of blood and rapine which devastated southern Arizona. Bascom George Nicholas, in the Manuel Grandera file in the archives of the Arizona Pioneers, according to a manuscript, according to a book, this was the first drama of blood and rapine which devastated southern Arizona. In another book, in Explorations and Adventures in Arizona and New Mexico, Samuel W. Cozens, an early historian of the Apache Wars, said, There is scarcely a mile on any road in the territory where the traveler is not pointed out some spot which the Apaches have consecrated with the blood of a victim. Nor is there a family that has not suffered in some manner from the depredations. The Apaches desolated Sonora and Arizona, which latter place in 1860 had a population of 34,000, while in 1870 it had less than 10,000. I want to fight this author.
Popcorn.
John R.
You're good.
Popcorn Jake.
Catch your breath, Big Daddy. And yeah, I don't know. Just kind of funny to think of that time period. 10 years later, the population was down to less than a third. It's kind of nuts. Yeah. We think about populations multiplying. John R. Brown, who crossed southern Arizona in 1864, said, "Tubac is now a city of ruins, ruin and desolation wherever the eye rests." Thanks, John R. Brown. Where'd you come from? Sweet, dude. Gravestones, or rather headboards, stand by the roadside like sentinels, said Cousins, bearing the invariable inscription, "Killed by Apaches." Tough. First, historians claimed Bascom's stupidity and ignorance probably cost 5,000 American lives and the destruction of hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of property. Almost certainly the historian exaggerated, but his estimates give a sense of the suffering and devastation which Bascom and his forces triggered during those cold winter days at Apache Pass in 1861. So, there's some stats that are wrong.
He just offered up numbers and then said, "Hey, those are wrong, but imagine if they weren't."
Oh my God. Think about if the numbers we just said were right. Holy shit.
Yesterday, dude, my foot fell asleep so hard it fell off my body. Not really, but imagine if it did.
Yeah. I slept for 3 weeks. I didn't, but come on.
You can understand how tired I was to have said that.
You can, I'll bump.
Did you do the 5 historians part?
Yes. The first historians.
Right.
What happened to Mickey Free, Coach Ice, and Bascom?
That's a great question. I really want to know the answer. What happened to Mickey Free?
Right.
Mickey Free never saw John Ward nor his mother again. He grew to adulthood among the Cayotero Apaches, one of few in the territory who could speak Spanish, English, and Apache fluently. He became a valued scout for the Army, although some believed he was a psychotic killer.
I mean, fuck it. What are we doing? Was he a valued scout for the Army, or was he a psychotic killer? Feels like that's not a middle area.
No, dude. Some people say he was valued. Okay.
Sweet.
He died in 1915 on the Apache Reservation in southeastern Arizona. We have a picture of him. Where'd that picture go? What's his name? His name is Mickey Free. I want to get this picture on the big screen for people that are watching. There's a couple pictures of him, dude. If you Google it.
So what I've got going on right now, and Jimmy will be posting on the screen on YouTube. It looks like, Mickey Free's got a good head of lettuce. It looks like it's, almost lady hair length, if you will. Honestly, he's kind of got a great look going, man. Excuse me. Let me start over. He has a good look going for what I expected Mickey Free to be.
Okay. Hold on. I have 2 pictures here. This is the one that you're looking at first. Oh, hold on. And I'm just going to zoom in on his face. Obviously, I don't care about his body. And what's the one eye all about?
We think his left eye isn't an eye, right?
Yeah, that left one looks like glass.
Yeah.
And dude, his his hair. If that's red hair,
It's
I
powerful.
mean, what are we doing? Yeah, he looks kind of badass. Okay, but now here's the other picture, Jake, which I don't know if you've seen. Right here, where he's kind of posted up.
Oh, that makes more sense for Mickey Free.
And now it kind of looks like he doesn't fit his body really.
Yeah, I mean, the first picture, he kind of looked like a badass. This picture looks like someone dropped a CD album that I would never listen to.
I mean, he looks mean, dude. He lived a rough life. Look at that furrowed brow.
That left eye. Yeah, I'm starting to understand the psychotic killer rumors.
Well, but also he could have been a valued scout. You don't know.
Nobody does, apparently.
Okay. Okay, so that's what happened to Mickey Free. It's kind of crazy that they have like his life on file. Like, I want to hear his whole story. Dude was captured by the Apache.
Let's exclude the psychotic killer stuff for now. Net, Mickey Free ended up doing pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, better than he would have done with his dumb dad.
Exactly. He's got a spunky look. He's a spy. He speaks languages. Like, he did okay.
Yeah. John Ward didn't deserve him. He was a bad dad. He went immediately. I'm reading about Mickey Free now because I'm kind of interested. So then he became a scout for the U.S. Army. How did he leave the Apaches?
So he didn't. It's like a U.S. Apache army when everyone thought they could play nice, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
So due to the soldiers, because the soldiers could not pronounce the scouts' names, they gave them nicknames. Due to his red hair and other features, the soldiers claimed the scout named Feliz bore resemblance to a character in Charles Lever's 1840 novel, Charles O'Malley, the Irish Dragoon, named Mickey Free. Oh, so he didn't get the name Mickey Free until like adulthood, it seems like.
I think that was his name. I just think the Irish Dragoon came later.
His birth name was Felix Tells. But he looked like a cartoon character named Mickey Free, so they renamed him Mickey Free, which is ironic because he had been captured and he wasn't free. He was a slave, basically.
Felix Ward, Felix Tells, yeah. I'm over him. I hate him.
Cochise's health failed him in the early 1870s as a peace of sorts finally settled over Apache country. He died on June 8th, 1874, in his mid-60s. His closest relatives dressed his body and painted his face for war. His Chinook band carried his body in procession to a remote crevice in the Dragoon Mountains, west of the Chickawawas, and they buried him in secrecy with his horse and dog and weapons. Across the range, the Chiricahua people, the deadliest fighting handful in the calendar of man, cried, "Oh!"
It's just the way...
Why can't you just write the Chickawawa people cried? Why do you have to slam a description into every sentence?
Everything.
I'm telling you, this dude's a lawyer who wrote this. Second Lieutenant George N. Bascom, the fine-looking fool. It's a good nickname.
Not bad.
It's a good nickname. He was transferred to the Union force at Fort Craig in central New Mexico, where he led Company C of the 7th United States Infantry against Confederates in the vicious Civil War Battle of Valverde on the banks of the Rio Grande on February 21st, 1862. He died that day on a sandbar in the middle of the stream. No one ever accused George Bascom of cowardice. I'm sure some did.
Yeah.
And I was going to read that last sentence, but Luke deleted it. So I think that's the end of the story. Now, this story, I don't want to confuse people.
Oh, you've done that.
Not me. Don't blame me. The story was awesome. Like the actual nuts and bolts the way that dude wrote it was so brutal.
Yeah, so let's touch this up a little bit. Town drunk / loser. He's got a kid.
Redheaded stepson with one eye.
Kid gets kidnapped, and so do some of his cattle. He tells the military / whatever. They send a young, dumb leader, bottom of his class, to help him out, are like untrained soldiers. They claim it's the wrong Native Americans that have done all this because of the drunk loser and the inexperienced leader. They immediately go for the "we're going to kidnap you" and lying. And then that leads to, a 3-week-long back and forth of bartering / killing and nothing getting done?
Yeah, Coach Chase got put into a tough situation, man, because Bascom was a dummy. He was like, I don't have your kid. And we're not like all friends. It's not like I can just ring up the other Indian tribe and we're friends. Like, we may go to war with them too, dude.
I think we could Tarantino this, because I think you could get some humor scenes out of this, along with some really dark stuff. But like them meeting at the same place a couple times, just knowing the negotiation's going to go nowhere, I think you could find some humor in that. But I could see this being a real movie too. I'd watch it. I'm really interested. I think this movie needs to have two different stories going on. And this is one story, and the other plot line is following Mickey Free with the other things. I'm reading now that Mickey Free he's in the White Mountain Apache gang, and he becomes foster brothers with a guy named Torolahil, who later went by John Rope, and they were like brother scouts. But one was, white and one was Native American, Apache, and they become brothers and scouts together. That's kind of a cool story as well. And then you need to make them intersect at some point. If you Hollywoodize the movie exactly, you have Mickey Free like more involved.
Return.
Yeah.
Like return and kill his dad. You have the John Ward dude be like a bad father, like an abusive father. And when the raiding party came, Mickey Free like jumped with them. He was like, I want out. Let me go with you guys. This shit looks cool.
Perfect.
That's the Hollywoodized story.
Luke,
yes.
You had to listen to that. What's up?
I had one question.
Sure.
Not very important, but they said Coach Chase was buried with his horse and dog. Does that mean they killed the horse and dog? They all didn't die on the same day. So do they preserve the horse and dog bodies until Coach Chase?
Way to ask a question that no one wants to know the answer to. They clearly killed the dog and the horse, and that sucks.
I don't know.
I'll save it a little bit. I mean, there's a chance, because, this is the time when, family burials and stuff like that are a lot more traditional. So maybe, it's probably pretty mapped out. Like, dog died, he goes there. Horse died, he goes there. You're next, chief. Yeah, at least we'll pretend for now that that's what happened. Because also he lived to be 60, so, he didn't... How long do horses live? Dogs don't live to be 60.
Yeah, I don't know. The best horse, the favorite horse of the dead person, is used. The dead person's ropes or blankets are tied to the horse, and the horse is loaded with his belongings. His good saddle is put on the horse. Then the corpse is mounted on the horse and is held there by his relatives as the funeral procession makes its way up the canyon to the place where the burial is to be. As the funeral procession passes near the camps, the people cry for the dead man if he was their good friend. And then, so they put the body on top of the horse and walk it up into the canyon. Like his face is painted, his hair is combed, they say.
So horse is alive at this point.
Yeah. In accordance with their traditions, he had clothed his body in the finest war garments and a feathered headdress. They decorated his face for the final time in the paint of the warrior. They shrouded him in a fine woolen red blanket given to him by a military officer. They placed his body on a favorite pony with a warrior mounted behind to hold him secure. Followed by the Chilkanins, they led the horse with its burden to a deep chasm in the Dragon Mountains. They killed the horse and Cochise's dog, dropping them into the chasm. They hurled his arms into the fissure. He would need his animals and weapons in his new life, in the Apache's underworld paradise. If you were a great warrior on Earth, you are out at war. So yes, they threw the dog and the horse down the mountainside.
Thanks for looking that up, Miss Lippy.
Thank you, Luke, for your great question.
It's a bad question,
Damn.
bad answer. A lot of moving parts there.
How many commas do you think were in this article? Because I have the number here.
A lot.
284.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Good story, though. Mickey free. Good for you. 284 divided by 8 is 35 commas per page. It's a lot of commas.
It's Comma Fest.
All right, we'll be back next week. We might have a little laughs. I don't know if you guys know about those yet, but they're coming. And thanks for listening. We appreciate you. See you next week.